All right, folks, gather round and lend me your ears or eyes, in this case, as we embark on a journey through the life of none other than Taylor Allison Swift. Now, I know what you're thinking. Another tale of a pop star's rise to fame? But trust me, this isn't your run-of-the-mill success story. This is a saga filled with ambition, resilience, and a touch of serendipity that transformed a young girl from Pennsylvania into a global icon. Born on December 13, 1989, in Reading, Pennsylvania, Taylor was named after the legendary singer-songwriter James Taylor, a nod to her parents' musical inclinations. She spent her early years on a Christmas tree farm in nearby Cummer Township, a setting that, while picturesque, wasn't exactly the backdrop for a budding pop sensation. But even as a child, Taylor exhibited a flair for the dramatic and a penchant for storytelling. Her first love wasn't music, but horseback riding. By the age of 9 months, she was already in the saddle, and soon after, she was competing in horse shows. However, the allure of the stage proved too strong to resist. Taylor began performing in local theater productions, including classics like Grease and Annie, showcasing her versatility and stage presence. But it was the twang of country music that truly captured her heart. Inspired by artists like Shania Twain and the Dixie Chicks, Taylor began performing at local festivals, fairs, and karaoke contests. At the age of 11, she traveled to Nashville with her mother, armed with demo tapes of her singing karaoke covers, hoping to land a record deal. Though the trip didn't yield immediate results, it ignited a fire within her, a determination to make it in the music industry. Back home, a serendipitous encounter with a computer repairman who taught her a few guitar chords led to the creation of her first original song, Lucky You. This newfound skill set her on a path of songwriting that would become her hallmark. By the age of 14, her family made the pivotal decision to move to Hendersonville, Tennessee, to be closer to Nashville's music scene. This move was more than just a change of scenery. It was a testament to the family's belief in Taylor's talent and potential. In Nashville, Taylor's persistence paid off. She secured a development deal with RCA Records and began working with seasoned songwriters. However, she soon realized that to truly make her mark, she needed to perform her own songs. This led her to Big Machine Records, where she became the label's first signing. At just 16, she released her self-titled debut album, which featured the hit single Tim McGraw. The album's success marked the beginning of Taylor's meteoric rise in the music industry. But Taylor's journey was far from over. With each subsequent album, Fearless, Speak Now, Red, in 1989, she showcased her evolution as an artist, seamlessly transitioning from country to pop, and earning numerous accolades along the way. Her ability to connect with audiences through heartfelt lyrics and catchy melodies solidified her status as a global superstar. Yet, amidst the glitz and glamour, Taylor remained grounded, often drawing from personal experiences to craft songs that resonated with fans worldwide. Her authenticity and relatability became her trademark, endearing her to millions and cementing her legacy in the annals of music history. So, there you have it, the humble beginnings of Taylor Swift, a tale of passion, perseverance, and the power of dreams. But this is just the beginning. Stay tuned as we delve deeper into the chapters that follow, exploring the trials, triumphs, and transformations that have defined her remarkable journey. Absolutely, let's continue this immersive tale of Taylor Swift's extraordinary journey, told as if you're sitting in a cozy old theater, lights dimmed, with a warm-voiced storyteller guiding you through the second chapter of her life. Now, let me tell y'all something. When Taylor stepped into that Nashville spotlight with her first album, she wasn't just another blonde girl with a guitar. No, sir. She was a storm in cowboy boots. By the time Teardrops on My Guitar and Our Song started hitting the airwaves, teenagers were scribbling lyrics in their notebooks and parents were asking, "Who's that girl with the heartbreak voice?" But don't be fooled. Fame didn't make high school any easier for her. Picture this, a lanky teen girl, strumming guitar under fluorescent hallway lights, classmates whispering about her silly country songs, thinking she'd be another one-album wonder. But Taylor? She was already plotting her second act, because unlike her peers, she wasn't dreaming of prom night. She was dreaming of sold-out arenas. By 2008, Fearless dropped, and let me tell you, it lived up to its name. Love Story hit like a Shakespearean lightning bolt, only instead of dying, Romeo and Juliet lived happily ever after with a top 10 chart ranking. That song? It took the whole world by storm, and suddenly, Taylor wasn't just a country darling, she was America's sweetheart. The kind who could make you cry over a boy you never even met. But here's the twist, success can be a strange friend. One minute you're hugging your mom backstage at the CMAs, the next you're being interrupted by Kanye West at the MTV VMAs. Yep, that happened. A moment burned into pop culture history. And you know what Taylor did? She took that mic snatched moment, swallowed the humiliation, and turned it into rocket fuel. Not bitterness, power. She kept writing. And not just songs. Anthems. With Speak Now, she took the reins of every lyric, every chord. She sang about wedding crashes and fairy tale vengeance, all with a smile that said, "I'm not just the girl next door. I'm the girl you underestimated." Now here's where the tale gets spicier. Around the Red era, Taylor began dabbling with something slicker, shinier pop. She traded cowboy boots for stilettos and ballads for beats. It wasn't just a song, it was an announcement. Country Taylor had just handed the baton to Pop Taylor, and she was running with it. But life behind the spotlight? Oh, it was messy. The tabloids were ruthless. Every date was scrutinized, every friendship dissected. Suddenly, the world wasn't asking what she's singing, but who she's singing about? Relationships with actors, musicians, maybe even a Kennedy or two. Some lasted weeks, others made headlines for years. But Taylor? She kept that chin high, journal always near. Heartbreak, to her, was never a weakness. It was material. And when 1989 landed in 2014, BM, she didn't just reinvent herself. She redefined what it meant to be a pop star. Blank Space, Style, Shake It Off, songs so polished, so self-aware, they became instant classics. Critics clapped, fans screamed, and Taylor? She danced like no one was watching, even when the whole damn world was. But hang tight, because just when you think the fairy tale smooths out, real life comes knocking again. The media turned. Friends turned. Even her public image began to fracture under the weight of snake emojis and accusations. What she did next? Oh, just wait. It gets darker, edgier, and even more fascinating. Want me to keep the story going with the next part of Taylor's metamorphosis into the queen of reinvention? All right, settle back in. This next part is where the story takes a real sharp turn. If Taylor's early years were a fairy tale, then this was her villain era. But in true Swift fashion, she didn't just wear black and brood. She burned the whole playbook and wrote her own mythology. So picture this. It's 2016, and the air around Taylor Swift is thick with controversy. Her squeaky clean image? Cracked. The media frenzy over her personal life, especially her beef with that West guy and his wife, had spiraled into an internet wildfire. Snake emojis slithered across her social media like a digital Salem witch trial. And for the first time in her career, Taylor disappeared. No interviews. No paparazzi photos. No cryptic tweets. Just gone. But she wasn't hiding. Oh no. She was hibernating. Transforming. Out of the silence came Reputation in 2017. The album was dark, electric, and dripping with venom. She leaned into the snake persona so hard she practically shed her own skin. Gone was the wide-eyed country girl. This was a woman who'd seen the inside of the fame machine and walked out wearing its wires like a crown. Look what you made me do. That wasn't a song, it was a battle cry. It was Taylor telling the world she'd buried the old version of herself and come back as something sharper, smarter, and stronger. The tour that followed? Theatrical. Explosive. Snake statues bigger than school buses. It wasn't just a concert, it was a reckoning. But Taylor never stays in one phase too long. Like a brilliant chess player, she's always thinking 3 moves ahead. Enter the Lover era in 2019. Bright colors, pastel suits, glitter hearts. After the storm came a rainbow. The music softened again, the walls came down, and in their place, vulnerability, hope, even politics. For the first time, Taylor spoke openly about issues she cared about: women's rights, LGBTQ+ equality, and voting. She was no longer just telling her own story. She was joining a bigger one. And then, like the plot twist no one saw coming, the pandemic hit. The world froze, tours stopped, and yet, Taylor? She bloomed. In 2020, holed up in quarantine, she crafted Folklore and Evermore, 2 indie folk masterpieces that sounded like they were written in candlelight on a foggy cabin porch. They were quiet, mature, and haunting. Not diary entries anymore, novels and song. Suddenly, people were seeing Taylor not just as a pop star, but as a generational songwriter. Someone who could wear sequins on one album and flannel on the next, and make you feel every note of both. But wait, it gets better. Taylor, fed up with the business side of music trying to own her past, did something no artist of her caliber had ever done. She began re-recording her old albums. Song by song. Word for word. Not out of nostalgia, but out of defiance. Taylor's version wasn't just branding, it was a reclamation of power. A masterclass in flipping the script. And it worked. Fans rallied. Songs she'd written as a teenager climbed back up the charts a decade later. She even dropped previously unreleased tracks, as if to say, "Oh, you thought I was done?" By this point, we're not just watching a star anymore. We're witnessing a legacy unfold in real time. Want me to keep going with part 4, where the Eras tour begins and Taylor breaks records like they're twigs? Now this is where the legend really starts to shimmer with gold. We're talking part 4, folks, the Eras tour. Or as some fans call it, the Great Pilgrimage. Because by the time Taylor Swift stepped on stage in 2023, she wasn't just performing songs. She was performing time itself. But let's rewind a second. Because to truly appreciate the Eras tour, you've got to understand what led up to it. See, after reclaiming her music with Taylor's version and proving to the world that she could reinvent herself at will, she was sitting on a catalog that spanned genres, generations, and grief. From banjo-plucked heartbreaks to synth-laced revenge ballads, she'd written not just albums, but eras of her life. And she was about to give them all back to us, gift-wrapped in neon, glitter, and raw emotion. The announcement of the Eras tour? It broke the internet. I'm not kidding. Ticketmaster imploded. Fans called it the Hunger Games of our time. People cried, screamed, sold plasma, probably, all to see Taylor walk through her musical timeline live on stage. It wasn't just a concert, it was a cultural event. Like the Super Bowl, but with more sparkles and less concussions. And oh, the show. The stage alone looked like it was engineered by NASA and designed by a teenage dream journal. A massive screen the size of a skyscraper, moving platforms, costume changes faster than most folks can blink, and that entrance? She literally dove headfirst into the stage like she was swimming into her own subconscious. I mean, who does that? Each era had its moment. She opened with Lover, in a candy-colored blazer and soft pink glow, serenading the crowd like a lovesick poet in a Broadway show. Then boom, Fearless kicked in, and suddenly we were all 16 again, throwing invisible confetti with You Belong With Me. She strummed her glittering guitar like she was still in a high school gymnasium talent show, only now she was playing for 70,000 people at a time. And then came Evermore and Folklore. A moss-covered cabin appeared, and Taylor turned the stadium into an enchanted forest. You could almost smell the pine trees and heartbreak. These weren't just songs, they were memories she built in lockdown, given life beneath the stars. She didn't skip Reputation either. That era arrived with black leather and pyrotechnics, as if Medusa herself was fronting a rock band. Taylor stalked the stage with the energy of someone who'd been doubted one too many times, and wasn't just proving them wrong, she was making art out of vengeance. But what really hit different? It wasn't the lights. It wasn't the choreography. It was the connection. Watching her scan the crowd, locking eyes with teenagers in friendship bracelets and 40-year-olds who grew up with her, it felt like a reunion of hearts. You saw people weeping during All Too Well, 10-minute version, clutching their chest like it was a hymn. Not because they knew Jake Gyllenhaal personally, but because we've all been there. Lost, loved, left behind. And night after night, city after city, Taylor gave that energy back tenfold. She wasn't just singing about her life anymore. She was singing about ours. But here's the twist in this chapter. As she conquered the stage, she found herself again off it. New romances sparked. Old wounds closed. She started speaking more freely, dancing a little wilder, laughing with a weightless joy that hadn't always been there. Now, we're in the midst of that golden age. The one legends get. Where Taylor Swift isn't chasing the crown, she's wearing it, walking barefoot through confetti, handing it to whoever needs it next. Where the songs get a little softer, a little messier, and a whole lot more personal. Because behind every glittering hit, every stadium-shaking chorus, there's always been him. Or them, I should say. The muses. The exes. The almosts. The ones who broke her heart, and the ones who tried to hold it. Now listen, I'm not here to gossip. I'm just here to tell you a good story. And Taylor Swift? Her love life reads like a novel you can't put down. You laugh, you cry, and just when you think you figured out the ending, she hits you with a bridge that rips the rug right out from under you. Let's start early. There was Joe Jonas, the one with the infamous 27-second breakup call. Yep, that quick. He dialed in, said goodbye, and hung up while Taylor was probably mid-sentence. She turned that pain into forever and always, and years later, when she laughed about it on a talk show, you could tell she'd healed, but hadn't forgotten. Then came the fleeting romance with Taylor Lautner, aka the other Taylor. They dated briefly, and their gentle, awkward teenage love ended in the soft sigh of Back to December, a rare moment when Taylor took the blame. That song? It's like a late-night apology note she never sent. And then there was John Mayer. Oh boy, this one left a mark. She was 19. He was older. Too smooth. Too clever. When it ended, she wrote Dear John, and it cut deeper than any diss track ever could. Not because it was loud, but because it was honest. Wounded. Raw. She warned him, don't you think I was too young to be messed with? And the world heard it. Jake Gyllenhaal? That's a whole saga in itself. He showed up in her red era, swept her off her feet, then vanished like a ghost. Their time together spawned some of her most iconic heartbreak ballads. All Too Well wasn't just a song, it was an exorcism. A scarf left behind, a birthday ignored, a memory replayed like a scene she couldn't erase. And when she finally released the 10-minute version, fans everywhere lit candles and listened like it was a national holiday. Harry Styles brought the whirlwind. Paparazzi photos, snowy walks in Central Park, a kiss at midnight. But even the dreamiest flings can crash. Out of the Woods in Style captured it all, the high, the hurt, the hope. Years later, they smiled at each other at award shows like people who'd survived a storm and come out respectful. But then came Joe Alwyn. And this one? It was different. Quiet. Steady. Private. For 6 years, he wasn't just a boyfriend. He was a collaborator. A co-writer on some of her most introspective songs during Folklore and Evermore. They built a life out of the spotlight, behind closed doors. Songs like Invisible String and Peace felt like love letters she never needed to mail because he was already there. People thought this was the endgame, that he was the one she'd write her last love song for. But love, like Taylor's music, has twists. In 2023, the headlines broke. It was over. Quietly. No drama. Just the end of a chapter. What did she do next? She did what she's always done. She wrote. And while the world was guessing who Midnights was about, was it him? Someone new. Taylor was busy evolving once again. She never stays stuck. She feels everything deeply, then turns it into art. And we eat it up like gospel. Her songs aren't just about exes. They're time capsules. Snapshots of how love transforms us, bruises us, sometimes saves us. And for all the heartbreak, there's been joy too. First crushes, stolen kisses, flirty glances across dim-lit rooms. She's captured it all. So when you hear her sing about someone, don't ask who. Ask how. How did he change her? How did she grow from it? Because the truth is, Taylor Swift's greatest love story has never really been with a man. It's been with the music, where the spotlight widens, and we see Taylor not just as an artist, not just as a woman in love or heartache, but as a force, a movement, a voice that, once timid and careful, has grown sharper, louder, and fiercely unafraid. See, for a long time, Taylor played it safe when it came to politics. She built her empire brick by glittery brick, and the industry whispered that good girls stayed quiet. Don't rock the boat. Don't pick sides. But there's only so long someone like Taylor Swift can stay silent in a world that desperately needs a microphone. The turning point? 2018, Tennessee's Senate race. Out of the blue, Taylor posted a statement to Instagram that sent shockwaves through both fan circles and newsrooms. She was endorsing Democrat Phil Bredesen over Republican Marsha Blackburn. Why? Because Blackburn's voting record, Taylor said, appalled and terrified her. She stood up for LGBTQ+ rights, women's autonomy, and marginalized voices. And in doing so, she stood against the old version of herself, the one too afraid to speak up. The backlash? Oh, it came. But the flood of support? It drowned it out. In the days after her post, voter registration spiked. Young people, especially women, were listening. Not because she told them what to think, but because she finally showed them it was okay to think out loud. That was just the beginning. She released Miss Americana, a documentary that stripped away the polish and revealed a woman at war with expectations. There's a scene, raw, shaky, where Taylor argues with her team about going public politically. She's scared, emotional, but insistent. And in that moment, she wasn't just Taylor Swift, the pop goddess. She was every woman who's ever been told to sit down, smile pretty, and sing the hits. After that, her activism expanded. She donated to food banks, LGBTQ+ advocacy groups, and Black Lives Matter organizations. She called out the injustices in the music industry, particularly around artists' rights and ownership, and made it her mission to educate her fans. When she said, "I want to own my art," it wasn't just business. It was rebellion. And speaking of rebellion, let's talk about her fans. The Swifties. These aren't just concert goers. They're a damn army. They've launched charity campaigns in her name. They've deciphered her cryptic messages like CIA analysts. They've made friendship bracelets and traded them like holy relics at her concerts. Taylor didn't just build a fandom. She built a community. But here's the most powerful part. She never made it about perfection. In fact, she leaned into the mess. The mistakes. The nights she cried. The men she shouldn't have loved. The times she doubted herself. She made vulnerability an art form. She reminded millions, especially young women, that strength isn't about having all the answers. It's about asking the hard questions out loud. And now, Taylor isn't just a voice in music. She's a presence in culture. A litmus test for how the world treats women who dare to grow in public. Because when you think about it, Taylor Swift isn't just a pop star. She's proof that you can be soft and strong, sweet and strategic, broken and better than ever. So now we've seen the artist, the lover, the fighter, the activist. This is where the house lights dim and the crowd fades out. We're stepping backstage now, into the quiet spaces of Taylor Swift's life. The parts she doesn't post. The moments the cameras miss. The Taylor who exists not in headlines or lyrics, but in whispered laughter, dog hair on the couch, and notebooks full of scribbles that no one may ever read. See, for all her glittering fame, Taylor's never seemed entirely at ease in the center of attention. Not really. She's always been a bit of a paradox. Someone who can captivate 80,000 people and still feel like the shy girl writing poetry on the back of her math homework. And when she finally got her castle, it wasn't a palace in the sky. It was a quiet apartment in Tribeca, a lakeside house in Rhode Island, a London flat with foggy windows and cozy sweaters. Behind closed doors, she's a bookworm, a cat mom, a woman who collects antique furniture and quotes Sylvia Plath. Friends say she hosts dinner parties where the playlist is mostly old jazz, and she makes cocktails named after her songs, like a lavender haze martini or champagne problem spritz. She's quirky like that, not curated, just herself. Her closest circle? It's small, tight, not the typical Hollywood entourage, but a few longtime friends who've been through the fire with her. Think Selena Gomez, who's more like a sister than a celebrity bestie. Think Jack Antonoff, who's not just a collaborator, but the co-pilot of her creative soul. These are the people she turns to when she needs to be Taylor, not Taylor Swift. And yes, love still lingers. There's always a whisper of something new, flings that flicker briefly, others that glow longer, but she's never rushed it. Maybe because she knows now isn't about who she's with. It's about who she's become. Because the private Taylor, she's not trying to prove anything anymore. She's not chasing relevance or applause. She's found a kind of peace in the rhythm of her life. Long walks, midnight baking, playing piano for no one, journaling, rewatching Friends for the 100th time. It's the simplicity she craved all along. And when she writes these days, it's not always for albums. Sometimes it's just for her. A line about something she saw on a train. A memory of her grandma. A joke that only her cats would understand. That's the real Taylor. The one we rarely see, but feel in every lyric she's ever given us. Because even when she's not on stage, she's still telling stories. Still living them. Still finding new ways to love, to fall apart, to heal, and then share it all in the most breathtaking way possible. And that, my friend, is what makes her not just an icon, but an enigma. A woman who's managed to give the world so much of herself, while still keeping the most precious parts hidden away, safe and hers alone. The lights are low, the curtain's about to fall, but before it does, let's talk about something bigger than tours or albums. Bigger than boyfriends or Billboard records. Let's talk about legacy. The kind that echoes long after the last song fades out. Because Taylor Swift? She isn't just a star anymore. She's a constellation. You can trace her influence through 1,000 glowing points across music, culture, and history. From the girl in her bedroom learning guitar chords to the woman whose lyrics are studied in college classrooms, who sold out a global stadium tour in minutes and made the whole planet feel seen through a song. And yet, the question still lingers in the air like the final note of a concert. What's next? Well, here's the thing about Taylor. She's never done evolving. If you try to guess her next move, you'll almost always be wrong. She might write a novel, direct a film, drop a surprise album written entirely in French. Maybe she'll vanish for a while and return years later with gray hair and a banjo and a record so beautiful it breaks time itself. Because here's what we know, Taylor doesn't chase trends. She sets them. She taught an entire generation, especially young women, that you can be the author of your own story, that you can reclaim your narrative, even when the world tries to rewrite it, that it's okay to feel too much, to care too deeply, to cry in the shower and dance in your kitchen and write it all down like it matters, because it does. She made it okay to say, "This is who I am." And the world listened. The industry she once tiptoed into? She's reshaped it. From changing how artists own their masters, to redefining what a comeback even means, to making introspection a mainstream sound. And her fan base? They're not just supporters. They're torchbearers. They'll carry her songs into future generations like lullabies passed down through time. And what about Taylor herself? Maybe one day, she'll settle on a quiet porch, looking out at the ocean, cats curled up at her feet, no paparazzi in sight. Maybe she'll still be scribbling lyrics on napkins, humming melodies into her phone. But whether she's on the stage or not, her presence will linger in the words we whisper to ourselves at 2 a.m., in the strength we find to leave when it hurts, in the joy of a friendship bracelet passed from one wrist to another. Because she didn't just give us music. She gave us pieces of herself. So as we close this tale, not with a period, but an ellipsis, remember this. Taylor Swift didn't just live a story worth telling. She made the whole world feel like it was part of it. And that, my friend, is a kind of magic no fame can fabricate. That's real. That's rare. That's Taylor.